WHCJ Savannah 90.3 FM.
This program was pre-recorded.
Hello and welcome again to Stir It Up. I am Jacqueline Awe, your host for today, and we want to start this program as we do each week by encouraging you to get help, because help is not a bad four-letter word. This program is being brought to you on behalf of WHCJ 90.3 FM and the Division of Student Affairs at Savannah State University. And the goals of our program are: 1, to share general information about programs of study on our campus. 2, we want to provide a forum for community organizations and individuals to educate listeners about what they do and topics of interest. And 3, we want to alert you to the various community services and resources that may be of use to you and your family. If you would like to be a guest on this program, or you are aware of an individual, an organization, or a group that should be featured, please give us a call at 912-358-3114 and ask for Jacqueline. So thank you again for joining us. Happy Friday. And, we always have wonderful community guests leave their jobs and come here, spend an hour with us to provide information and resources and, just a lot of contact information, especially to help you get service and help you get to the resources that you or your family needs. And today is no different. Today we have a representative from Park Place Outreach. And some of you all who work in the field might be familiar with Park Place Outreach, but for those of you all who have no idea, you've seen the building or you've heard about it, or you participated in the rally a couple Saturdays back or so, might be aware. But today you're going to learn a lot about this organization and also about what they do. And they do really important work in our community. They literally save lives. So the representative from Park Place Outreach who's here today, his name is Kenneth Brown, and he is the Street Outreach Coordinator. Now, doesn't that sound tough? Okay. So, welcome, sir.
Welcome. Good morning.
Welcome back to Savannah State University. You were just here earlier this week as part of our advisory council for homeless college students, and we really, really, really need you on that council, and we really appreciate you. And we're glad that you could make it back out here today to educate our community about this topic. So, tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got to this position and why does this interest you?
Well, my position at Park Place Outreach right now is I'm the Street Outreach Coordinator for homeless teenagers, and we try to resolve or abolish human trafficking within the community of Savannah. I've been affiliated with Park Place now for the past 6 years. Prior to that, I was the director of child care over at St. Mary's Group Home for Boys and Girls, which is located off of Victor Drive. I did that for about 12 years. I was a part of that agency for about 12 years. Before then, I ran an at-risk youth program. Basically, it involved us taking kids between the ages of 12 to 17 out into the wilderness for a week's time.
Okay.
I accepted the position as a Street Outreach Coordinator at Park Place because I felt as though it was a much needed position, it needed someone who could actually provide the passion and the desire and determination to assist these kids in getting off of the street and providing additional services for them where they may need be.
Yes, yeah. And we're going to talk more about that particular program when we start to look at all the different programs and services that are offered by your organization. And thank you and welcome. And we appreciate that work that you're doing. A lot of us can't even think about being on the streets, and I'm sure you're on the streets at ungodly hours, helping, to take care of our youth and get them off the street,
Yeah. Well, I've been affiliated with the streets for the past 23, 24 years
Oh,
in some
yeah.
type of capacity with each agency that I've worked with. So this is my comfort zone.
Sure. Excellent. Okay, so Park Place Outreach. Tell us about this organization. What do you all do?
Park Place Outreach is an emergency youth shelter which works with kids between the ages of 11 to 17 whom, for whatever reason, they're not able to live at home. Now, this could be based on various reasons: abuse, neglect, abandonment. We also have a parenting class that we provide for individuals who need assistance in working with their kids. So, as you can see, we work in various capacities with the community.
Okay.
You don't necessarily have to be a resident of Park Place to receive our parenting classes, for example. And some of the things that we discuss with the parenting classes consist of what's appropriate, what's not appropriate for the kids to hear, what should kids be exposed to, how to establish relationships with your child,
Yeah.
how to interact with your child, understanding why it's so important to listen to your child without judging them. And the importance of following and mastering these issues could have an immediate impact on how the child turns out, how productive they become within society.
Sure.
And this may come as something that's supposed to be routine to a lot of families, but to a lot of other families, it's not. It's easily overlooked. If you don't focus on these issues, you tend to somewhat lose establishing that relationship or that bond with your child.
That's true. And especially for a lot of children who grow up, and I'm not stereotyping, but especially if you have a single parent home, and because of the need for your parent to work multiple jobs, the parent might not be around all the time, then a lot of things that you might be involved in might not get addressed and shaped and molded, as you're going. Sometimes the parent's presence and the ability to talk about, that particular movie you're looking at, or those particular friends you have over, you might miss a lot of those things that could affect socialization and so on, because the parent is trying to put food on the table and they're just not home, or maybe they have a hands-off approach to parenting, kind of like more friend type parenting, and you more have like a type of laissez-faire type, relationship with your parent, and you do whatever you want to do and come and go as you want without restrictions, without guidelines. A lot of things can affect young people in their formative years.
Yeah, when you start talking about a situation such as a single parent household, it's it's unfortunate that a lot of parents are put in a position where they have to raise a child by themselves.
Yeah, yes.
But with that being said,
yes.
it's still an obligation. It's still a responsibility. A lot of times we tend to make excuses or reasons for why we're not able to do certain things with our kids. Well, I understand dates, I understand appointments, I understand job obligations, but we still have to make alternatives. We still have to provide options for the kids.
Gotcha.
And if we can't be someplace, then we have to do the next best thing. The next best thing may be sitting down having discussions with the child when they've missed an event. When a parent has missed an event, sit down with the child. Still show that interest.
Yeah.
It lets them know that you're still involved.
Interested in what happened at the event and how they performed and everything.
Exactly.
Get the play-by-play.
Exactly.
Yes.
And if it means that much to the child, it should mean that much to you.
Got you. So that's one of the services provided, parenting classes. And how often are those services available?
Oh, we have the parenting classes on, I think, every Monday and Tuesday. No, I'm sorry, Monday and Thursday.
Okay.
And it's from 6 to 7:30.
And is it free to the
Yes,
public?
ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Basically, what you need to do is come in, knock on the door, sit down with one of our case managers, who will then assign you to our parenting group instructor, Ms. Fran Wilson.
Okay. Very good. So, parenting classes, one of the services offered. What are some of the other type of services and programs offered at Park Place Outreach?
Well, we provide individual counseling, group counseling, educational counseling, employment counseling. We address all social problems within the community. Okay, so if we're not able to assist you, with that being said, we also refer you out to other agencies as well.
Referrals, okay.
That's actually where my program comes into play
Okay,
as well,
okay.
because my street outreach program, Park Place Outreach deals with kids between the ages of 11 and 17.
Sure.
But the street outreach program also extends itself to assist young adults between the ages of 18 to 21.
Okay.
So basically what we do is we try to assist getting kids, like I said, off of the street, as well as young adults.
Okay.
Other additional services we may provide are things such as education, housing, counseling, employment, and any other social problems that come about.
So when you say education, help us understand what that means for the clients that you all work with.
Well, when an individual comes into Park Place Outreach or the Street Outreach Program, the first thing we do is an assessment with them, an intake assessment.
Okay.
And by doing that, that allows us to be able to gather lots of social history on the individual.
Sure.
And with that social history, of course, educational history comes with it as well. So if a youth is struggling in school, if they've been expelled, if they've withdrawn, then one of our primary focuses now is try to get them back on task in school.
Okay.
Now, we may not, depending on the circumstances, they may not be eligible to go back to school.
Okay.
So then we turn to our other options, which may possibly be adult education, obtaining a GED. We try to link them up with other agencies like Job Corps, Savannah Tech, other agencies that will assist them in obtaining that diploma.
Gotcha. Okay. How do these young people find Park Place Outreach?
Well, through networking and promotions of our agencies. The Street Outreach Program, we do a lot of networking out within the community. We go out into the community and we distribute brochures and flyers. We have PSA commercials that we actually have, we're taking part in now.
Yeah, someone told me they saw you on television.
Well, I try to stay in the backdrop. I don't want to be seen.
You're a celebrity now, a local
no, that
celebrity.
would not be me. But one of the things that we, our PSA commercials focused on was teen dating domestic violence.
Yes.
So we felt a need to collaborate with Safe Shelter with this grant that was sponsored by Verizon Wireless.
Very nice.
To send a message out to teens in the community who may be exposed to this social problem of teen dating domestic violence.
Yes.
So we felt a need or an obligation to do those PSA announcements so kids would know where to turn to, what agency to reach out to.
That's excellent.
Yes.
That's excellent. So when you had started talking about the services you provided and the clients that you serve, you were talking about young people who were neglected and abused and abandoned and so on. Could you tell us about the situations that lead to this type of abandonment? Like, what are some things that your clients have shared that, actually happened within the home that actually led to a young person, to somebody's child, being out on the streets?
Well, these experiences are experiences that have been around for years. These reasons, rather, of why kids fall into the situations that they fall into. Abuse, loss of job, drug abuse. And one of the things that's becoming more common to me is just neglecting parents neglecting their obligations or their responsibilities to their kids. Now, I'm not saying every parent. I'm not going to sit up here and say that every parent out there is a bad parent.
Oh, right.
There are a lot of parents who get out there and who go through the struggle and who fight to make sure that they can put food on the table, provide a roof over these kids' heads. It's just important to them to maintain a level household as it is to maintain their job. So, it's a collaboration effort. But I think that a lot of the neglect that goes on with parents is their lack of maturity, in raising a child.
The younger parents, yeah.
Exactly. You know, a lot of parents in this time and age, they're not old enough to be raising themselves. They're not old enough to raise themselves, which means they're not ready for that big role, that big responsibility
Of another person's life.
Exactly. You know, to relate, to be more, to relate it more so closer to the new young environment, the youth environment. Ludacris summed it up when he said, you know, when his child was born, he knew that he now had another obligation, which was to feed another living being. And I think if a lot of parents go with that same mentality, we would have a lot more success stories. You know, so it doesn't necessarily matter about you being a single parent all the time. You know, two parent households can be just as tragic as a single parent household.
Oh yeah, and there are excellent stories coming out of some single parent households.
Exactly.
You know? Yeah, and I mean, even sometimes there are some advantages to the single parent, in that the child and the parent, because it's just both of them sometimes, develop really strong ties. You know, so there are some type of
relationship.
Yeah, because they depend on each other so much. It's just them, you know,
and a bigger focus on their goals.
Okay,
If
especially
If the parent has the child focused on the goal,
right,
then the child is going to then in turn focus on that prize as well.
That's true.
Yes,
that's really true. And if you do that from early on, you know, I think people underestimate how early we should start really shaping these children and directing them and teaching them, you know, about values and so on. Because they learn it really early, and their friends would teach them it if you don't want to teach them it, you know. And we know the peer group is significant in impacting those middle schoolers and teenagers and so on. And some of the things that are happening in the peer group, you don't want your child to be moved by the peer group.
No.
You want your child to be able to stand on your values and what you taught in the home.
You do.
You know, so these parenting classes sound like, if parents feel like, you know, maybe I'm a little younger and I just don't know how to effectively raise my child, or I'm seeing some behavioral issues early, you know, get these free resources, get these services that could help you learn some strategies and skills to cope and manage and, you know, just save that child's life and you know, and help that family, you know?
You know, I tend to tell people all of the time that raising a child, when raising a child, you have to start from A and go all the way to Z. You can't start at E, F, G.
Sure.
And think that you're doing everything that you're supposed to do. Because if you're not starting at A, you're not teaching them every intangible that they need to have.
That's right.
Now, if you don't teach them, that leaves them more vulnerable to be taught by other individuals, such as your peers.
Yeah, and they may get miseducation.
Miseducation.
Yeah.
You know, and it's true. Peer pressure is one of the biggest social problems in America. You know, we can give our kids all of their the morals and talk about their values, you know, in the home. But when you leave out of that house, it's like going into a war zone. It's like going into a jungle, and you have those predators who are out there to pull you in to their group. You know, and peer pressure is so strong. Yeah. You know, we can sit up and tell our kids to just say no, to stay away from those bad individuals.
Just say no.
But when you go into that school setting,
sure,
you have to deal with so many different personalities, and the pressure to be accepted, to get along, to not be harassed is so enormous. So we as parents, we have to just, you know, we have to continue to listen to our kids. Let's not just say these old cliches, just say no. Right. Let's teach them how to empower themselves.
And I'm the parent, so do as I say and not as I do, and expect that to be it, and that will win them over. That doesn't work.
In today's time, that's irrelevant.
It does not work.
Because they now have to go into that jungle and listen to that predator tell you, you do what I say, or I'm going to humiliate you. Right. I'm going to harass you. I'm going to tear you down. So now, which one are you going to choose to have to deal with?
Sure. I don't want to be shamed.
the
I don't want to
parent?
be harassed.
Yes.
Yeah, so I'm going to lean towards where I'll have some peace there.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So we as parents, we have to be able to understand that. That's why I spoke about earlier about us being able to learn how to listen
Right.
and not judge so quickly. Establishing that relationship allows you to also know your child. If I know my child, then I know what my child is capable of. And I know what my child is capable of because we communicate, because we talk. We talk not just about school. We talk about, the things that interest,
Yes. Yes.
each other, that interest us, the things that we enjoy doing, the TV shows we watch.
Yes.
We talk about
Yes.
everything that is
Everything.
that to the extent that I know if
That's
somebody
right.
tells me my child did something,
Okay.
and my child tells me I didn't do it, I'm gonna take my child's side because I've established this relationship.
Yeah, that's
and
that's
this
not their
bond with them.
pattern. That's not their typical style.
Exa-
And if they did it, something had to have happened because this is just not this child's style. This is not their personality or whatever because you have that relationship.
Exactly. And that's probably one of the most frustrating things with a lot of parents who have not established that relationship. Because when you get calls from the teacher or the principal,
Yeah.
now you got to worry about who's telling the truth.
Oh boy.
It should never be to that extent. It should never get to that point whereas you don't know your child and you're having trouble determining whether what the principal or the teacher said you did it or not. You should not have to go through that.
Sure.
And that's why that's what parents miss out on.
Sure.
Having a relationship with your child is such a great experience.
Yes.
It's such a great experience if that's what you want to do. If that's what you are, you realize it is your responsibility to do. And once you establish that relationship with your child, it's so gratifying.
That's true. And you need to start it really, really young. I remember my middle child. That child is very strong-willed. That middle child, Jesus. And and the Montessori would call me because when everybody is supposed to go to sleep after lunch, she wants to sit on the cot and read. And they would call me because she's not following orders. So we had to work together, the teachers in the Montessori and I. This child wants to read, everybody else is sleeping, what do we do? And we had to work together to develop a plan to give her more responsibility and so on. I've seen situations where parents would come to the schools and curse out the teachers, and make a big squall in the school and so on. And for me as a parent with 3 children, I just know that when you work with teachers, when you sit down and you listen to what they say, they're seeing and they're hearing, and you work with the teachers rather than coming and cursing out everybody and making a big scene, and your child seeing that you're disrespecting the authority figure in the school, it would be better if you work with the teacher and try and understand what's going on. It doesn't mean that always the teacher might be, truthful or everything, but you have to sit and work with the authorities in the school and the counselors and the principal and whoever to help your child, to help you, to help your child, to help your child in the classroom and so on, rather than just say, oh no, not my child. And sometimes you see those situations where it's not my child, it's never your child, and even if the child do something that clearly is illegal or wrong or something, and you're still defending the child in that, and the child is not learning because mom or dad is covering for me in my wrong.
That's unfair to the child.
Yeah.
It's very unfair.
Yeah.
But it goes back to, like we talked about earlier, establishing relationships with your child, but not only with your child,
Right.
but also with the school.
All the people who support your child, the coaches, the school, all those leaders.
You have to. If you want your child to be successful,
Yeah.
you have to establish that relationship. And you go about doing that by being a part or being involved in parent-teacher conferences, in meetings that they have at the school, PTA meetings, just attending activities and events that they have for the kids. You're establishing not only a relationship with that school and those individuals that run that school, but you're also sending a message that I'm an involved parent.
There you go.
And I will be here. Okay? So if anything is said or done about my child, just know that I will be here
That's right.
to follow through and see what actually went down, how everything transpired. So you have to really put in that time. No excuses.
Sure.
You can't make excuses about
Sure.
why you cannot attend one or two activities.
And you know what with technology today too, sometimes you don't even have to do the face to face, because sometimes it might be hard to get off your job and go across there. And what I've started doing is asking the teachers, because if I get kind of busy, I'll say, well, could we call at a designated time? Because I know I have this conference here or this meeting here and I can't make it, and I know you have all the sessions on this day. Could we have a time where we could talk on the phone, or could I email you?
Yep.
And the teachers are always flexible and willing to accommodate it, because they want to communicate with you.
Yep.
It's not necessarily always face to face, So we need to do whatever we have to do to make sure we're on top of what's happening with this child, and not just assume what the child is saying, that I'm doing fine, everything's good. That's the ultimate answer. You need to know what's going on.
And again, these are some of the topics that we discussed with the parents in our parenting group.
Yes.
From based on a lot of my experiences of kids, not just at Park Place, but Park Place itself has had over 6,000 kids grace the steps of the
6,000.
Yes, come through the doorsteps.
Wow.
Over 6,000 kids. Through those experiences, I've come to realize that the kid coming through that door is the secondary problem.
Okay, of course.
The primary problem has a lot to do with the nucleus of
Sure.
the living environment. And the living environment usually consists of the parents and the child.
Sure.
So, with the parenting groups, we have to right a lot of wrongs. We not only have to educate the kids, we've got to educate the parents as well.
Sure.
And it's not necessarily the parents' fault. A lot of times, you're just teaching what you've been taught.
Sure.
You're raising your child
Yeah.
the majority of the times. And I must say the majority,
Sure.
because it's got to start somewhere. You can come from a two-parent household where you've been taught your morals, your values, your rights, your wrongs. But then you may venture off.
That's right. That's right.
You may leave that
That's right.
consistency.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people, back in the day, I don't know about you, Ms. Hall, but, I've told my mom in the past a lot of things of how I was raised when I was growing up. Today might be on the borderline, but I appreciate the manner that I was
Raised. Yeah.
the discipline that I received.
Sure.
And I call it discipline because it prepared me to deal with life's obstacles. It taught me right from wrong. It taught me what's appropriate, what's not appropriate.
Right. It really did, yeah. Back in the days, I thought my mom was really harsh. I had a really early curfew, and when the party and all
Street
those
lights.
things just getting started, I had to be in the house. I was coming home when everybody was going to the thing.
Yep.
And I thought, well, they're so, backwards and stuff, And now, I have to say, well, thank God they were concerned about my safety, and they wanted me in where they could monitor me and manage, and they thought I wasn't, mature enough and old enough to be out there. And who knows what could have happened out there with me, taking advantage of that freedom at earlier ages, And
it also helps you, though. It helps you make decisions in regards to your children now. Now you can appreciate what your mom did for you.
I appreciate it, yes.
Exactly. I have two children, and I'm now put in a position where I have to make decisions regarding, going out and staying in. And the majority of the time, especially considering all of the recent violence that's been going on out within the community.
Yes.
I say no a lot.
Yes.
And
yes.
Paint me as a bad person.
Sure.
But I will have a safe child. I will make certain that, that they're safe at all times.
Sure.
And it's based on me being the bad guy sometimes. I once heard someone say on the television, I'm not supposed to be your friend. A parent is not supposed to be your friend. They're supposed to be your caretaker. They're supposed to be your provider. They're supposed to be the one that's supposed to make sure that you are safe.
Sure.
So if you want to be upset with me because I want you to be safe,
Well,
I'll take that one.
you'll be upset.
Exactly.
Yeah. And I have to go through those same arguments. I know exactly. I have 3 children, and they always want different levels of freedom for different things when they were growing up. Now they have more freedom as they get older, and they show me that they're responsible. But I remember having to tell the kids no to sleepovers, no to different things, and I'll explain to them why. I will not even cover that up. I'll explain to them why. And and they'll be like, well, so and so's mom and so's dad let them, and and I said, well, I'm not so and so's mom and dad, and my job is to parent you, and my job is to protect you, and this is what I'm thinking about this situation, and I know you might feel really upset, but I'm not going to give up that responsibility concerning you. So you're going to be home and you're going to be mad at me, but it's okay. I just want you to know I love you, and that's why I'm making this decision. And you need to be safe, and this is how I could ensure that you're safe. And guess what? After a while, they calm down. I tell them why. And they calm down after a while, and they get it. And after a while, they would tell you, well, I don't want to go across there because the mom is not home. It's just the dad or just the brother. So I don't want to go across by that friend's house today. There's no real supervision, no woman there. And we have the conversations, real conversations about why I'm concerned. Yeah. So they after a while they get it. They get it when you realize you're not just trying to be mean. You're really concerned about their well-being. That's your role. That's your job.
And again, that's where our parenting group comes into play, because believe it or not, a lot of parents have not been counseled or taught this. So it's up to us not to assume that they know this.
Of course not.
And that's one of the biggest downfalls of parents. You ever hear about a child getting in trouble, and the parent says to the child, he knows better. She knows better.
Right.
Well, how does he or she know better?
How do they know better?
Have you ever actually sat down and had this discussion with them?
True.
And that's one of the advantages of our parenting group, which I might add. Now, the parenting group comes at no cost.
Right.
It's part of our program.
I love that.
So we don't charge once you become affiliated or with our program. We're not charging you. We are a nonprofit organization. Okay? So any services that we provide for you, you're not coming up out of your pocket.
Right.
Okay? But it's the little things that go easily overlooked.
That's right.
To molding a child.
Yeah.
And that's one of the advantages of our parenting group. We're the mediator.
Okay.
We're the person that sits down in the middle and let the parents talk, let the child listen.
Yes.
Then let the child talk
and the parents
listen.
Yes.
And
yes.
I think that's what's missing so many times when you start talking about a family.
Right.
And a family having an open line of communication. You both must be able or be willing to listen.
Okay.
To hear what one another is saying.
Yeah.
It could be irrelevant.
Yeah.
But respect goes a long way on both parts.
And I think especially because the way we're raised, I know from my generation, the way we were raised is that whatever the parent says, the parent doesn't have to listen to you. You just have to listen to what the parent says, and it's one direction, Yep. And we were raised that way. It's like you dare not look a certain way. You don't speak back. You don't say anything. You don't voice an opinion. You just obey. It's just strict,
But here's the difference. During our era, our values were in a different place.
Gotcha.
Growing up, it was what? Church, family, education.
Yes.
Then your peers.
Yes.
Now we're dealing with peers.
The media.
Possibly education. Barely morals, because they ventured away.
Right.
And that's not saying that the majority of individuals don't believe in their higher power.
Right.
But I strongly believe the peers play a much larger role in their decision making today than their higher power.
And I wonder if it's because the parents took their hands off a little more and allowed
Too early.
Other influences to make those decisions.
Too early.
Too early.
They didn't read into the signs.
Oh.
Kids can be the most manipulative individuals in the world.
Of course I know.
So it's up to us as parents is to be the detectives.
Yes.
To be the investigators. But sometimes we won't take the additional effort.
True.
To probe.
Pay attention to what's really going on.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Again, a lot of this is passed on and counseled on at Park Place Outreach.
Mm-hmm.
We try to empower both parties, the child and the parents.
Okay. Well, you know what? I want us to talk more about homelessness as an issue when we come back from the break. And because we know that there are so many risk factors out there when a young person, oh my God, is on the streets and going house to house, living on people's couches and in all type of, high risky type situations and so on.
Yes.
And you're gonna, when we come back, we'll talk about that and talk about what you see out there and why we need to really, take our children by the hand and really pay attention. And in the midst of crisis that we might think is crisis, not let them go.
Okay.
At any given moment, somewhere in America, a baby is taking a first step, a developmental milestone. But for too many parents, a baby's first steps aren't just a milestone. They're a miracle. These are the parents of babies who were born prematurely or with birth defects. It's a crisis affecting more than 500,000 babies in the United States each year. You can help them by joining volunteers like you who walk in March for Babies. The money you raise funds research and local programs that help babies overcome the challenges of premature birth and birth defects. Together, our steps make stronger, healthier babies a reality for thousands of families. Sign up today at marchforbabies.org to take the steps that help make milestones and even miracles possible. Who will you march for?
When you're 15 and pregnant, all the stuff just goes through your mind. You're his mom. You're supposed to be the one taking care of him and raising him, but you can't do it without support. I wanted to give him a better life. When I found out I was pregnant, I don't know, just a light hit me in my heart, just saying adoption.
For more information, go to ichooseadoption.org.
I'm Miranda and I chose adoption.
Sometimes people buy cookies as a gift for us to send to our soldiers. They tell us it reminds them of home.
Emily is one of thousands of Girl Scouts who will send cookies to troops stationed overseas.
Children shouldn't have to take abuse because they aren't strong enough to escape it. I want to give them a helping hand.
Alicia uses proceeds from her cookie sales to provide mentoring programs at a shelter in her community.
Selling Girl Scout cookies has taught me how to manage money, be responsible, and talk to other people.
Tanya wants to go to business school and hopes to run her own company someday.
On a visit to the food bank, I learned that in this economy, more and more people need help to feed their families.
Morgan and other Girl Scouts are starting a project to help get food to those who need it most. Every Girl Scout cookie has a mission: to help girls do great things. Find your cookies now at girlscoutcookies.org.
The following message is about Medicaid and CHIP, free or low-cost health coverage for kids and teens. Enrollment is open year-round.
Hey, voice lady, give me the mic.
Okay.
Hey, DJ, let's switch up the music. That's better. So listen up, moms and dads out there. There are these programs called Medicaid and CHIP. They offer free or low-cost health coverage for kids. Things like doctor and dentist visits, prescriptions, and shots are covered. All the stuff that keeps kids like me healthy and in charge.
So, as you can tell, a covered kid is a confident kid. And it means confident parents, too. To learn more about affordable health coverage for your family, visit healthcare.gov or call 1-877-KIDS-NOW. That's 1-877-543-7669.
Yep, you could do something big for your family today because enrollment is open year-round.
This has been a message from the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services.
And Sophia.
Hello and welcome back to Stir It Up. Today we're really fortunate to have Mr. Kenneth Brong, the Street Outreach Coordinator for Park Place Outreach, in studio today, talking about some of their services at Park Place Outreach. And we know this organization serves our community in a unique way because they attend to young people who run away from home. Whether from 11 to 22 years old, I believe. That's the age group?
21.
21 years old. And they focus on human trafficking. They focus on a lot of different issues that affect our young people who are homeless, who are walking the streets, and who are at risk for so many different factors when they're out there on the street. This organization has a lot of different services to offer: parenting classes, individual and group sessions, education, referrals.
And I might want to add, we, like I said, as you said, the parenting group classes, but we also, we provide crisis intervention. We've got a 24-hour telephone crisis line. Our shelter itself holds 12 beds for emergency placement.
Oh, okay.
Our kids receive 3 meals and 3 snacks daily. We have after-school tutorial program.
Okay.
We also implement a weekly life skill group program. We also deal with the curfew violator programs as well. And we provide aftercare services once they've completed our program. So as you can see, we got a lot of services that we make available. And in addition to that as well, we also provide our street outreach program, which is my program, that I coordinate.
Yeah, let's talk about that, because this street outreach program implies that there are people living on the street, so they're homeless. These young people are out on the street and they're homeless, based on the definition of homelessness, And when we look at the definition of who is really homeless, according to McKinney's definition, the term homeless children and youth refers to individuals who lack a fixed, regular, and adequate nighttime residence, and includes children and youth who are sharing the housing of other persons due to loss of housing, economic hardship, or similar reasons, are living in motels, hotels, trailer parks, or camping grounds due to the lack of alternative accommodations, are living in emergency or transitional centers, are abandoned in hospitals, or are awaiting foster care placement. So that's just one aspect of what homelessness is described as. There are just other different type of examples to describe to me that the entire definition. But when you see young people on the street, you consider them homeless.
Yes.
And tell us what normally happens from the time you meet them. How do you even recognize that that child is homeless?
Well, in order for us to determine whether a child is homeless, a couple of things have to occur. One, the child just has to tell us. But that usually doesn't happen. So in order for us to give or get the child to tell us that they're in a situation where they need shelter, we have to establish that relationship.
Okay.
My program, one of the advantages of my program is we have peer mentors.
Okay.
And our peer mentors serve as the individuals who go out within the community with us to distribute brochures and flyers. And we tend to frequent consistently areas where we know kids are going to be.
So you are
around.
walking the street and giving out brochures and flyers?
Not necessarily walking. We have a van, a big, beautiful white van that was provided to us by O.C. Welch.
That's awesome.
And we ride around in the van. We frequent the recreational centers. We hang out by the convenience stores.
Okay.
We hang out by the schools. Any place where we feel as though kids are going to congregate, we're there.
Yes.
Again, one of the other missions of our program is to help abolish human trafficking. So we tend to ride by certain areas where we assume this may be taking place. Now, we're not the police. We're not the authorities. So we don't make citizen arrests.
Right.
What we do is if we see something that we sense that there may be a possibility of an offense taking place or a crime taking place, we'll then contact the authorities.
That's right.
You know, but back to the kids, you just have to have a good observation of individuals, you know, and some of the things that you look for is their appearance, how they're dressed, what they're carrying, their eating patterns, you know, and all that comes through observation. If you get an opportunity to watch a kid and you want to learn something about them or learn whether they have shelter or placement, watch how they eat, you know, watch how they look at how they appreciate that meal, you know. So it's through our training, additional training we receive as well, that gives us a heads up on situations. And we've been pretty effective. We've been pretty efficient. You know, we don't just necessarily walk up to somebody and say, hey, you homeless? No. No, we're not rude. We establish relationships. You know, by us identifying ourselves and letting them know who we are and what we do, that makes it a lot easier as well. So again, it's by being out there in the community, you know, and by us being out there in the community, riding around in our van, we establish relationships with people.
How big is your team?
We have 2 staff members, a case manager, and a coordinator, which is myself.
Yes.
And I have about 6 or 7 peer mentors.
Yes.
Okay. And the peer mentors, their age range is from 16 to 20.
Wow.
Yeah. And the majority of those individuals, they are actually in college, you know, and this is, they work with us part-time in a part-time capacity. Some of their job requirements are to do presentations with various organizations such as churches, after-care groups, after-school groups. Where else? We do event planning. We go to events and we put together presentations.
Yeah.
You name it, we're there, though. I mean, usually when anything that comes about in Savannah, the Street Outreach Program is there. Especially if it's community-based related to kids.
Could you tell me about a success story that you experienced while working at Park Place Outreach, doing street outreach coordination?
Well, what we consider to be a success, what you all may consider to be a success, I may consider to be a continuum. Because my version of a success is getting a kid off of the streets and getting them in the right placement.
Right.
So if I get a kid into a shelter, such as the Salvation Army or Greenbrier's Independent Living Program, then I consider that a success. Now, when I get a kid into those programs, the advantage of our program is we don't just put you there and move on.
Case management.
We do case management with you. And what we're following up on is to make certain that the services are going to be provided to you by the placements.
Right.
Now, I can say with much appreciation to these agencies, the agencies that we work with have done an exceptional job in working with us in fulfilling their obligations when we place these kids. You know, so, but a success story can be, you know, I had one kid come down last year. How he got down there, I did not know. But he was a 19-year-old young man from Florida, from Bonita Springs, Florida, at that. Bonita Springs, Florida is like 8 or 9 hours away from here. And, you know, my focal point was on making certain that I could get this kid home. So he came into my drop-in center, which we have a drop-in center with the Street Outreach Program. Every Tuesday and Thursday from 4:30 to 8:30. Individuals between the ages of 11 to 21 can just knock on our door and come on in. And we can provide them with change of clothing, a hot meal, even a shower. We have a shower down in at our Street Outreach Program. But this particular day, the young man knocked on the door, and he came in. We did an assessment intake, and it was determined that he was from Florida and he was looking to get back home. And so what we did was we contacted his parents. He contacted his parents to let him know that he dropped into our drop-in center. And we were already prepared there is an agreement with Greyhound Bus Station and National Runaway Hotline, whereas if we can verify that a youth is trying to get back home,
Right.
Greyhound will provide that youth with a ticket back to his place of destination.
That is excellent.
And this particular day, we had set that up. But when we called the parents, they were so excited because he had been gone. They hadn't seen him in 5 months.
Oh, my God.
And we could tell, through our assessment intake that there was some mental issues there.
Okay.
And so our emphasis was on making certain that we could get this boy back reunited with his parents. And
he wanted to go home too.
And he wanted to go home too.
Oh my
And so we got him home. We actually have a peer mentor now who actually was a resident of Park Place Outreach.
Right.
And she wanted to give back.
Yes.
Because she spoke about how Park Place was there for her at an important time in her life, a very vital part of her life, to help her make certain decisions and changes in her life. And she wanted to be able to give back to the community. And so she's one of our peer mentors now. And there've been, we've had quite a few. I had one kid that came down from Virginia. I received a call from a relative in Savannah, and they said that they had she had a friend, a cousin, per se, that was involved in a domestic violence situation.
Yes.
And she wanted to get a fresh start. So I collaborated, I networked with the Safe Shelter, and again, she got down here on a Greyhound bus. When she got off that bus, Safe Shelter was there to pick her up.
That's excellent. That's
And
excellent.
that was our first, concern, getting her shelter. The next thing was deciding what she wanted to do with her life.
Right.
So we then collaborated with Greenbrier's Independent Living Program, that once she got into Safe Shelter,
Yes.
she could then go to Greenbrier's
Yes.
Independent Living
Yes.
Program.
Yes.
So, again, you have to look at what is considered successful. And what's considered successful for me is initially getting these kids off the street.
Yeah.
I had a young man just a couple of weeks ago call us to say that he was homeless because his two roommates just up and decided not to pay the rent the next week.
Yeah, and that will happen.
And
yes.
he wasn't even from here.
Okay.
So we immediately had to get to work on getting him placement. And again, like I said, the agencies that we work with, the Salvation Army and the ILP program at Greenbrier, as well as other agencies, but we work very closely with those particular ones.
Sure.
They've been very, very gracious and supportive of us,
Sure.
in this homeless epidemic.
And we've been seeing a lot more homeless students on college campuses, and I'm sure it's attributable to the economy too. But just like you shared about the roommate situation, I know one young man that we saw just before the holidays. That's what happened. The roommates weren't paying, and then they finally got eviction notice, and he was displaced. He didn't have enough money for the residence on his own, and he was depending upon these other two to pull their weight, and they didn't. And based on the definition of homelessness, he became homeless. Sometimes people think that homelessness is only achieved because of maybe drug use, which of course sometimes that might be part of it. Sometimes because the person has a mental health condition that's not being treated, and that could be part of it too. But people become homeless for a number of reasons. The economy changes, people lose their jobs. And that's what happened to a student that I saw this week. And he said that his father had a good job, gainfully employed. Father lost his job. And because the father lost the job and could not get re-employed, he tried and could not get re-employed. Either he was overemployed or underemployed, depending on what he was looking for. And the young man realized that home was really financially strapped, to take care of him and help him with school. And he came down here on his own to try to do school here at Savannah State. And he's just been trying on his own without any support at all. And I don't know why parents think that financial aid cuts every bill. Financial aid cannot pay every need that a student has, the human has. It doesn't. It barely sometimes meets the needs of the tuition and the housing. But some parents assume that financial aid takes care of everything, and they just let
misperception.
let these students go, and the students can't even, afford toiletries.
Yeah.
Some basic things, and they'll come to our office, and that's how we know what's going on. And this young man decided not to go home and be a financial burden, but stay down here and try to graduate, because his hope is that getting this degree would help him get employment, which could then help the family. So you see how he's thinking, not to put pressure on the family, but he's here homeless, sleeping on somebody's couch, and barely making ends meet.
Yeah. Homelessness consists of everything, all of the above, everything that you just said, because homelessness nowadays comes in so many different types of stories. And the thing about it is, one of the reasons people don't reach out is because they don't want to be judged.
Right.
They don't want to be stigmatized. And, we as a community, we have a tendency to do that. But like you said, there are a lot of people that have taken the wrong turn, made the wrong decision, and they become homeless. And when we start talking about a lot of people, we start talking about individuals such as doctors, lawyers,
of course,
professionals, professionals
yes.
who've made bad choices, and
Mm-hmm.
who've actually gotten in way over their head. And we know, and then we know there are, the other issues that come along with it. Depression,
exactly,
tragedy,
exactly.
Addiction, but there are some people who just made bad choices. One of the funniest things out there, not funny, but ironic things out there is you have some individuals who choose to be homeless. I've actually run into individuals, I don't want to say, and my term homeless, I may be using that loosely. How about 10 people? People who actually enjoy being outside. Now, if that's your choice, that's your choice. If you're not hurting anybody, you're not hurting anybody. You're just doing what you enjoy doing.
So you work in a community where people were trying to get them into residence, and they prefer to stay in the tent cities, or under the bridge, or in the forest, or they prefer that.
Yes. I literally have, but these are older individuals, people who've actually been homeless within their community for years.
Yeah.
And they're okay with that.
They don't want to
They
be
know how to take care of themselves.
Maybe they don't want to be institutionalized.
For whatever reason. And, the thing about the homeless population within Savannah is we've established relationship with some of these camps.
Yes.
That if they see a young person in the camps, they'll notify us.
That's good.
We go into these camps and we distribute our brochures and our flyers to them, and our cards, and they give us a call if they have a kid. So that's important to establish that relationship.
That is really good. And they do that. They really reach out to you all and say, hey, we saw a young man, a young woman out here. Yes, very good.
At least once a month we try to have a cookout. Nothing too big per se in the community, but very big when you start talking about dealing with homeless individuals. Where we serve hot dogs and chips and drink and sodas like that. And the thing about it is, they're so gratified. They're so appreciative of it. And I tell my peers all the time, I said, we fed some people today, and you should feel good about that. Because can you imagine waking up wondering where your next meal was going to come from? And we do a lot of that within our community.
Right.
We're located on 514 East Henry Street, over there on off of East Broad in between Price. So we're there. And, you can always reach us, by phone at 234-4048. Or you can like us on Facebook.
Okay.
Park Place, yes. Or you can Twitter us now. We're Twittering now.
Okay, Park Place.
So if you're in need, feel free to give us a call at Park Place.
And there's a website.
Yes.
Okay.
And our website, you can reach us at www.parkplaceyes.org.
Very nice. Parkplaceyes.org. All right, thank you so much, Kenneth Brown.
Thank you for having me.
Waking up early this morning, coming out here, Street Outreach Coordinator of Park Place Outreach. We are really thankful for everyone at Park Place Outreach for what you do daily. Please continue saving our young people and just helping them off the street and away from all the threats that are out there. We really appreciate you all. We just pray that you all will continue to increase in the work that you're doing and resources. People will continue to support the work and help you all, help our people, our young people. And we want to encourage you today. If you know someone who is homeless, if you know someone who's struggling and out there, please don't just cover them up and keep them away from the help. Direct them towards help. We believe here that help is not a bad four-letter word.